Feel free to unmute. This is more of an open conversation than it is like I don't want to talk at you. It's more about like what we're doing and share with you. All right. You go to the next slide. All right. So this is our just standard agenda. First of all, helpful Houston contacts. Then we'll go over upcoming events, plans and priorities. And then we just want to listen and hear from you all and get your thoughts and all of those things. And hi to the little people. I'm going to wave at him. He's going to be like, wait, what? Yes. Hi. Helpful Houston contacts. I'm not sure if we need to go over this for those folks who are already here, but these are the people. These are the people that, you know, if there's a need to speak to anybody, those folks are the ones. So enrollment questions or anything else related to schedules, etc. I will preemptively say, no, they cannot change the schedules. The schedule change was actually not a school-based decision. It was absolutely a state-based decision related to the amount of time that students needed synchronous instruction. So it's not something that the school is necessarily going to be able to change, but if you're having strong concerns personally, or know somebody who's having like strong concerns personally about what the schedules mean for their particular child, then contact your child's teacher and they will try and work through those individual issues with you, but there's not really a lot they can do about the amount of time the students are having, because that's kind of that's outside of their purview. They sort of just have to implement what was given. But anything related to that, content, academics, any of that, that's Miss McKenzie. She's a school-based teacher leader. Her email is jmckenzie. Absence notes or anything of that nature goes to Miss Rivers. I do not believe that she is in the building all the time, but I do believe she's in the building some of the time. But regardless, she still has access to attendance, but send it to HoustonAttendance@gmail.com just so that all the attendance notes were housed in one place. It makes it easier. Tech issues, send to HoustonTech6220@gmail. Anything technology issues, laptop issues, things like that. I do believe they're still having, you can still do laptop pickup drop off if there's some like tech whatever at MLK High School. I think they still have that site available, so if there's something you need. And then our home and school email is HoustonHSA@gmail.com. Feel free to email us with whatever, anything you might have, ideas, questions, thoughts, concerns, and we will be happy to get back to you. Oh, I don't think I introduced myself. So very sorry. I know that I didn't. I'm Monique Smith. I am one of the HSA co-presidents, and Emily is the other HSA. And then Jamie is, well,
hello, I'm the secretary.
That Jamie is secretary, and then there's Jamie Ford, who is the treasurer. Don't know if he can unmute or not, but Jamie Ford is here. He is our treasurer. And all right, upcoming events. Is the actual picture of the calendar up there? If not,
no, it highlights specific events, but the calendar was released today.
Calendar was released today for December. One of the things that was talked about in the SAC meeting was to have more fun events. So we'll see some of that stuff come up. The book fair ends December 6th. It is an online book fair. Please purchase books. Of course, there's money that comes back to the school as we purchase books, and we'll be able to add those things to the library, to teachers' libraries. And there's also a link. What is it called, Jamie?
There's an e-wallet. So if you're not looking to add to your books, or if you would like to do this in addition to buying some books, it's money that will go directly to buying books for classroom libraries for teachers, so that the teachers can identify some books that they would like to have. And we're also going to take some of that fund to buy books for children who teachers identify as not being able to buy books if it weren't for having this fund. We're trying to replicate some of what the school is able to do with an in-person book fair. So, you know, how all the kids come down to the library to walk around the book fair, and the teachers tend to know who wouldn't otherwise be able to get things. And there are some funds in reserve that they can use for that. There's no way to access those funds in the online book fair. So we're looking for a way to duplicate that. And the e-wallet was the way that our rep suggested. So you can donate money to the e-wallet, and then the HSA can make those 2 sets of purchases to get those books either to teachers or to students, depending.
Awesome. So yeah, the book fair, and actually if your student has not like looked at the website yet, it's really fun because it almost feels like they're walking in the book fair. Like they were able to like go pick which you know, stand they would want to look at, and they can kind of zoom in and scroll over. So CJ had a really good time, similar to how he would have done in an actual book fair. So it's really a nice thing. Make sure you check that out at scholastic.com/BF for book fair/Houston. All right. Friday, December 11th is a half day. Used to be all half days. That's a whole nother thing that I have feelings about that. Lots of them. I missed the half day Friday. To be very honest with you, I'm like, oh, it was great. But Friday the 11th is a half day. So just to have that on your calendar. This, yeah, you can go to the next one. The SAC meeting is December 17th. Now, I will say this. Houston HSA and SAC are like separate things, but the things that we like to that we may feel more passionate about, some of those things come up in SAC meetings, and we have the ear of Principal Hall in those meetings. So it's always a great meeting to go to, because a lot of the things that really matter to us that we either want to advocate for or things like that, those are discussed at the building level in the SAC meeting. So if you have opportunity to attend the SAC meeting, please do so. The Zoom link will be sent out. If you aren't sure how to like get the information for the SAC meeting, just shoot us an email at Houston HSA. We'll send the information to you to make sure everybody's connected. All right. So fun stuff. I'm really excited about the fun stuff, by the way, guys. So Dojo Celebration is December 18th, but why do I feel, is there a Dojo Celebration this Friday?
There is, after they revised the calendar after I made this. So
Okay.
November's Dojo Celebration is this Friday, December 4th. And then December's Dojo Celebration will be the 18th.
Okay. I was going to say, now I just, in my mind, I was like, wait, I thought I saw one. Okay, good. So there's a Dojo Celebration the 4th, another Dojo Celebration December 18th. There are pajama days. This is good for me. My child has begged to wear pajamas to class. On the 16th, 21st, and 22nd, adding to this idea of trying to replicate some of the things they would do in the building. I don't know if you all remember, if you have like kindergartners, you wouldn't know, but if you have like first graders, second graders, a lot of schools do Polar Express Day somewhere around the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And the students used to like wear their pajamas and they would have hot chocolate, but there's not really that, they won't be in school. So it's not the same exactly. So there's some of these things that they're trying to incorporate to make it feel a little more like in school, replicating some of the different celebrations. So Pajamas Day is the 16th, 21st, and 22nd, and then Ugly Sweater Day is on the 23rd. So those are fun things that your students will participate in. And I think administration and other folks will be sort of popping in and out of classrooms to kind of hype it up and make it even more fun. But to mark those down, and I believe they are on the calendar already that came out today.
Yes, they are. And
Family movie night. So Frozen 2. On December 18th, there's going to be a Zoom link, and there will be the opportunity for the students to watch Frozen 2 together, like collectively. May not be like the most fun thing if you have like a 5th or 6th or 7th grader, but if you have little ones, this will be like a fun thing. So thinking about some of the things, again, trying to replicate the celebrations we used to have in person, like those movie days where they would have popcorn and they could get juice boxes, those sorts of things. That's kind of what we're trying to replicate here. So that's Friday, December 18th. I will have to make sure that's on my calendar. CJ will be very excited. I don't know if your other little folks are like hype about just like watching movies on Zoom, but it just feels like another way for students to connect with one another without it being purely academically focused time. And then the winter concert. So that is the 23rd from 5 to 6. Again, we'll be on Zoom. And that Miss B is putting all kinds of great things together for them to still have the equivalent of a winter concert, which I think is phenomenal. And we want it to be well attended and well represented, just so that, you know, they understand that, like, we're encouraging them to still participate in those things, all the same things that we would have done in the building. All right. Any thoughts or questions around events that are happening, or any questions about the calendar, anything we need to bring back or run back? The calendar did go into Dojo. I don't know, somehow it got like, it's now 5 messages down on my Dojo. That's a whole nother thing. But like the calendar did go into Dojo earlier today. All right. So HSA plans and priorities. So we are really trying to prioritize participation and engagement. That's really more crucial than fundraising right now. And that's not to say that fundraising is not important, because it is. But the idea around dues, all that, those are helpful things. But it's more about just engaging parents and having us all be connected, so that we are connected to one another and then also connected to the school. Um, our priorities in terms of like fundraising are still the library, which was what our priority was prior uh, prior to not being in the building. That's still the priority. So it's not to say that we're changing priorities, but the fundraising for the library is not as urgent right now as it would have been in, you know, if this was like last September. So right now, this gives us the opportunity to really focus in on participation and engagement. Um, One of the things that I'm thinking we can do right before we get into the plans part is to just think through the parents you see on your child's Zoom, and just saying, hey, to the teacher, hey, can you tell parents, send parents a message to message me, and we can connect them to HSA, or connect them on the Facebook page, or connect them on Constella. It's not that teachers haven't sent this information out, because they have, but it's different when they're getting an ask from a parent as opposed to getting an ask, you know, that comes from an email that came some other way. But we really just want to get parents engaged with HSA, whether it's a dues thing or not. Like, so the dues is not as important, nearly as important as just engaging and connecting parents and families together with HSA. So, plans. There's a focus on an eventual return to in-person learning. We will go back to in-person some point. I have my own thoughts around when that will probably be, just based on my understanding of the educational landscape. It's probably not happening this year. Um, it might at the end, but I'll be honest with you, if it gets to about the time, and this doesn't impact those of us who have people who are little ones who are K1 too, but if it gets to testing time and they're not back in the building, they're not going to prioritize getting back in the building to be back for a month. That's just not the way that education works. Um, and so that could be the case. So, but eventually, hopefully, we will be back in the building at some point. And so that is what we're thinking about when we're thinking ahead to what we're fundraising for. A lot of the things that we have in place will still be in place. We still will want students and parents and families to be able to use the library and things like that. So we want to continue pursuing funding for the library refresh. We want really low key, low pressure fundraisers. The things that we want to do to raise funds, we really know going out and selling cookies and t-shirts and things like that. Although those are nice things, it's very hard to do when we're socially distant from pretty much everyone. And so trying to find ways, and are happy to take suggestions of fundraisers or things we can do that are really low key, low stress, that don't ask a lot of families and people to kind of participate. Something I saw that I considered was, or that we've talked about before, but I think would be really good in this time, is I'm one of those parents who is like, I don't really want to sell anything. And if you tell me to just give you $50 so I don't have to sell another thing, that's exactly what I would like to do. Because I'm not good with that kind of stuff. So like, if you just want a donation at the beginning of the year, I'm one of those people that's like, I think they call it an unfundraiser, where it was like, if you would typically make cookies for the bake fair, $10. If you would typically do this, then this and this, and then just like to, pay your whatever fundraiser, I think that's a great low pressure fundraiser. That's something we're considering sending out to families to allow them the opportunity to share, to raise funds however they see fit. The other two things, the book fair, what we did this time was really sort of like a test launch, like let's just try it out because it doesn't really cost us anything to run the book fair virtually. And then we hopefully will do another book fair in the spring that we can ramp up in a different way. We sort of did this one sort of short notice to kind of get the kinks out and figure out how it works and make sure that we can do it in an effective way. And so we have the book fair. And then the other thing we were thinking about is a Houston Gear fundraiser. Last year, I'm not sure if you all, if those who were parents at Houston last year, they sold hoodies and pullovers and t-shirts, and there was some quality questions around some of the items that they had. However, students were really excited to buy them and wear them. CJ still wears his Houston pullovers and hoodies. And we're also thinking about things like hats and masks and things like that, because those things will probably be, realities for us for a little while. So those are the three fundraisers we are looking at doing and setting up. Any thoughts around those or any additional anything? Go ahead, Emily.
Monique, I just wanted to mention that, and there's a couple of Families for Houston members on the call too, but they're doing a Giving Tuesday drive for tomorrow, and some of whatever they raise will go towards the library. So if you want to, donate directly to the library, or grandparents or people that would love to support our school, we'll share that information on the HSA page, or you can go over to Families for Houston's Facebook page or Instagram or Twitter, and that information will be there as well. So it's really awesome that they're helping us. They've got a good reach of people and community. So we're excited about that. And yeah, so if you want to make a donation right now, this week to the library, that's cool. We'll take it through Families for Houston.
Much appreciated. Any other thoughts around fundraisers? This is definitely like, come off mute if you've got thoughts like, no, that seems like a crazy idea, or I saw this other idea and I think it would be really awesome. That's kind of where we are at right now.
I just know that my daughter really wants like a Houston shirt or something. So I support the gear fundraiser.
If anyone has contacts for someone, like we'd love to do a local shirt, place that does shirts, please definitely reach out if you have contacts like that. That'd be great. Love to keep that in the community. And our thinking right now is just that people are super overloaded. I think we all are. And so we don't want to add more stuff to parents' plates and students' plates. It's just too much. So we want to keep doing something, but we're trying to make it, like Monique says, as low pressure as possible. It's just, everything just feels like, no, I don't want anything else added to my plate. I know that. So trying to make sure that we're being respectful of that.
Does there have to be a certain number of people wanting to buy things to make it worth it?
Repeat that, Claire.
Does there have to be a certain number of?
Oh, like for the shirts?
Yeah.
That's a good question. We'd have to find that out. But I mean, I think they did really well last year. Like, I feel like everyone bought shirts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe we wouldn't sell as much because we're not in person, but I still feel like that is a really good way. I mean, even if we don't make a lot of money, like, I don't think that's going to be a huge money maker for us, but it's just a way to, get Houston out there and get the kids excited about it and get some gear. Yeah. And make your uniforms easier for next year when we are back, because it's a lot easier with the Houston shirt.
I was going to say, adds to the fact the Houston t-shirt.
Yeah.
When they said that they could wear them every day,
yep.
And whatever you could wear whatever bottoms, we wore them every day.
Yeah, buy it big. Buy it big.
Kate, you're unmuted. I wasn't sure if you had something.
Monique, I was curious. I guess I was just wondering, well, first of all, for the clothing fundraiser, Was last year's, was that also to benefit HSA? No. The
No.
school
So
did it?
last year it was done through the school, so it was different. It wasn't that.
But they gave us like the okay to take that on this year.
Gotcha. And then my other question was, do you guys have a sense of how much, like obviously on fundraisers, just kind of like a broad idea, but like how much money does the Scholastic Book Fair raise? Like what kind of amounts are we talking about?
I am trying to remember. I would have to go back and look in previous years. So again, the book fair wasn't always through HSA, although like the money didn't funnel through us necessarily. Um, the other thing is the book fair oftentimes doesn't really garner HSA any money as much as it garners money like for the building. So it doesn't actually like funnel through us. So I will say that I'm not thinking, none of these things we are thinking of as like large fundraisers to do some of the larger projects. These are more, the thought around is one, let's maintain what as much normalcy in like doing the things that kids would typically do rather than looking at a large fundraiser. I'll say that it does not generally generate that much money. Not sure if Jamie can pull up the budget from last year, year before to find that.
I just went and looked, and it looked like we got about $1,200 last November-ish from we did it a little earlier in November. And that they spent down about 800 of that. In the
Yeah, we're
course of
not
the-
getting that in cash. We're getting that in
Right.
Scholastic bucks that the teachers can use, which is great.
And which they can use for more than just classroom library books. They can also use it for like Scholastic teaching materials and other kinds of school supplies.
Okay, I just have one more question. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So I hear what you're saying, which is the idea that like the engagement from families is more important at this moment than the fundraising piece, especially as we all sit in our homes. And I was curious, like in an ideal world, what would be the goal? Like, what are you guys looking for? Would it just be getting more people to turn out for the HSA meetings? Like, what's the like dream scenario? I just feel like I can't quite figure out like where to throw my energy, like my emotional energy with that.
So dream scenario for me, I'm not sure if you've had kids that go to other schools. So my son went to Cook Wissahickon when he was in kindergarten. Lots of reasons why we are not at Cook anymore, but the parent engagement would not be one of the reasons. At Cook, we had a really active parent Facebook group.
Okay.
Lots of communication and connection so that parents were connecting with one another. We also have Constella to try and do some of that. But at Houston, we're sort of starting from scratch as opposed to adding parents to an already engaged sort of scenario. It's very different to say, okay, hi, new kindergarten families, and maybe the 10 or 20 new families you get in other grades. Here's the thing we're already doing, let's do that. So even now we have a lot of more engagement from kindergarten and first grade than we do from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in terms of families. The goal is to really engage all families so that we are really creating a place where we connect with one another, where families can connect with one another. So the goal is to really just have engagement. And yes, we would love for them to come out to the HSA meetings, but that's not really like reality for everybody. It's more wanting them to connect with us, whether that is via Constella or Facebook or whatever it is. We just want to have families connected so that we are having the opportunity to share, workshop, think through not just fundraising ideas, but like what's going on in school? What are you thinking about? What should our priorities be? All of those things are better the more voices that we hear.
I think also for me, like to take that even a step further, in non-COVID times, my dream would be to have like really active classroom parents, to have a really active volunteer group where you're not giving a ton of time, but there's so much participation that you don't need to give a ton of time because you have a bunch of families that can give an hour a week or every 2 weeks even that are there that can help with lunch, that can help with recess, that could maybe help in the mornings. And you're sharing some of that extra work that maybe the, school doesn't have the resources to give. So that's kind of like, I think getting that participation and making that part of the culture. And again, we completely realize not every parent's going to be able to do that, but participating in ways that you can. So maybe it's, we had talked about some things that could be done from home, giving an hour here or there, but just getting participation in ways that can help the school. And this year's obviously different, but down the line, I think that would be kind of my.
Well, so Monique, you had said, like, have you had a child go to another school, only like daycare scenarios? And then my daughter was in pre-K at another school, but it feels like right now, one problem that we have, and I know Nurit is on the Zoom, and this is like a pet peeve for her, is that we actually don't know how to contact each other. If we wanted to like reach out to other parents, like, does it make sense for me to like hang around my daughter's Zoom and see if another parent shows her face in the screen and then ask the teacher to connect us? Like, could we start now by trying to get an authorization for parents to opt into like a school directory so we could have people's contact information? And then if we could start to build a little more community and be able to like reach out to each other, then we could start to like have a specific ask where we say like, I'm working on this, would you be willing to donate or time? Or
I think, yes, we're open to that idea, right? But that's a conversation I think we've talked over a couple of times. Constella actually does that, right? It allows parents to then opt in to communicate with one another, right? I think that is what the purpose of it is. The issue is you can't kind of force that, right? So we can't force parents to sort of opt in. So that's not at all what we're thinking about. But I think it is easier, which again is another challenge of us being virtual versus in person. In the mornings, I connected with most of the parents in CJ's class. Right? In the morning at drop off, I could say, hey, did you join the Facebook group? Hey, what are we doing about this? And I could make personal connections, right? Not having that opportunity makes it super challenging. And Kate, I think you're right. It's very much like, I don't want to just like pop my head in and just say, hey. One of the things that has been really awesome for at least the third grade is that Mr. Reason is really good about saying, hey, families, if you haven't connected with, and he'll send messages out via Dojo and things like that. And I think the more personal the message becomes and the less it looks like just spam in the great world of all the different emails and messages you're getting in the world from school and on Dojo and all of those things, the better. So the challenge is, yes, we could send out a Google form and ask families to opt in. We ask families to opt in every time they sign up for an HSA meeting also.
yeah.
But I think the reality is it's more beneficial to get the message to someone else from a personal connection, from a, hey, as a parent asking the teacher, hey, can you send a Dojo message out today that would say, whatever, from your child's teacher or that sort of thing, because I understand the idea of like wanting parents to opt in. I'll be very honest with you, that's not the way that it has worked. Even in other schools and other buildings that have thriving HSA organizations, there's not like a school directory. There's a lot of like reasons why that is, but it just doesn't show up in that same way in the school district because there's like logistical things that make some of those things problematic. But the goal is to connect families, and one of the great ways to do that is to do it personally. It's just harder virtually.
I think a lot of people don't understand that you can use Constella to reach out to other parents. Maybe that should be the overriding message to get people to sign up, because I think a lot of people don't see how it's different from Dojo, and they think it's just one more thing that they would have to monitor. But I know I used it last year when I was inviting kids to a birthday party, because it was like the only way to reach some of the parents that I didn't know personally. So I think like that's I think that should be the message of why people should do Constella, if you want to network with other parents and ask questions of other parents. And I just don't think that message has gotten out.
I think it's definitely time for us to do a reminder about Constella and about the HSA. So that's something we can do.
And then Claire, go ahead. And then this.
Well, for kindergarten, it has improved. Like from the first HSA meeting, the more people have joined Constella and then started talking on it, and but it's still not everyone, and that feels kind of like people are being left out of the conversation. So it's maybe like 16 out of the 30 kindergartners or something, which is still, you can see each grade is like fewer and fewer as it gets older. But the other thing I was wondering, and maybe I'm not using it correctly, but I don't get any messages from HSA being on Constella. Like, I get all the messages in our class, but are there like reminders from the HSA and things like that?
There are. So we'll look into that.
Yeah, there are, and they go out usually when they.
One, but I feel like I just only see the class that I'm in and our conversations.
Yeah,
Okay,
and usually when a blast goes out on Facebook, frequently around that time, a blast goes out on Constella. Could be so. The other thing that I think is really important to sort of name, and you know, I've never minded to have a very courageous conversation about things, is it's very, we have a very diverse group of parents at Houston and very diverse families. And all families don't operate in the same way, nor do they see school and school adjacent activities in the same way. So there are families that have different expectations about the purpose of school and the purpose of connecting with other families. And there are families who just choose not to connect in that way. And we have to kind of we have to sort of check our privilege at the door when we're thinking about connecting with other families, right? We have to understand that like some families have like a level of privilege that says, you know what, I actually do have enough computers in my house and enough bandwidth to get on a Zoom call at 5 o'clock. There's some that do not have that, or I have enough bandwidth or time or energy or whatever to connect with other families and want to, you know, plan activities and birthday, all those things, right? And there's other families who are not in that same position, nor do they look at school in the same way that we maybe do as a piece of like community and the way we build community and all those things, right? So we have to show, number one, how it adds value, right? How connecting with families and how connecting with other people in your child's class can add value. But we have to also ensure that we're not bringing our value system to the table when we are thinking about these things. We can't assume that the way we perceive things is the way that everyone's value system is set up. It's not. And that's probably like the best way I can say it. But we just have to make sure that we're not trying to force what our belief system is around what things should be on families that may or may not operate in the way that we do.
To that end, if it feels like Constella isn't getting the traction that you guys were looking for, would it make sense to sort of set our eyes on academic year 21-22 and have a like paper form that goes home in the yellow folder where parents can fill out their contact information, and then a paper directory, which I think would be really useful to all of us. And then if families don't want to do it, they can either not send the form or opt out, but then the HSA would effectively like tell us at the beginning of the year, here are all the families who are here and like what their contact information is. Sorry, Nuri, I just saw your comment.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's okay. I'm sorry. I have to.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge it. I'm sandwiched between a thing where I have to go outside and it's going to get too loud. So kind of, I think this is on point, but it's a little, we're just kind of hopscotching a little. But I was going to say, I think there's something about, you know, so we tried to do the form of like doing the tribute video for Thanksgiving, and we really got very little traction. And I don't think that's because of desire. I think desire is there. So like Monique, your point around like privilege and do parents want to engage or not, that's certainly a question, I think, in terms of like doing the birthday party thing. But I think in terms of like saying thank you to the teachers, I just in my heart of hearts believe that the community would want to do that. And I don't think that the lack of engagement was because of lack of desire. I do think people are overloaded, but I also think, it's just like Dojo is in my opinion, a very hard platform to keep track. I can barely keep track of the homework assignments that get posted through there, let alone like the more like fluffy stuff, I guess. And I just want to support the idea of like a continual reminder. I'm not sure that Constella is the like most amazing platform, but it's mostly working for kindergarten, or like it's working for kindergarten, but I want to echo Claire's points of like not everyone's on it. But not everyone's going to opt in anyway. So in some ways, like I am totally with you, Kate, on like doing the paper form. And I did that when Naomi was in kindergarten and it was successful, just at an individual class level. But I think we're beyond that point for this year. So when we think about this year, I kind of feel like maybe we should continue to bang the Constella drum with and it just saddens me because it's like, I would love to do something for Christmas and the holidays for the teachers. And I'm like, I just feel like I can't. So my point is like, I'd like to, maybe we can push Constella from that standpoint. Yeah, so that's a very long-winded way of saying, I think we should promote it more because I think part of the issue is that the message is not getting in front of people.
Right. That was
Can I
pointed.
make a suggestion
Yeah, go ahead.
related to that? So all of the materials that we currently have about Constella emphasize the difference between Constella and Dojo, right? So Dojo is for connecting the school to the families, and Constella is for connecting family to family. And so we tried to be really careful with that messaging and tried to get it out on as many platforms as possible. But then that message doesn't seem to be sinking in. So what else could we try to get that message out? And one of the things that I'm hearing, particularly from the kindergarten parents who are using it, are very specific ways that you're using it. And so what I'm wondering is whether we can highlight specific connections that you've made. So whether you could share with us, not necessarily like right in this moment, but if you could share with us briefly, Constella helped me to do this, or Constella helped our class to do that, where we could lift up those stories and highlight those stories, and that might help families better understand what they could use it for.
I think that's a great place to go to. The other thing that I think about, I think we talked about this before, is like sort of platform fatigue that I think everybody sort of has. Like, I remember seeing the Thanksgiving video, and in my mind, I had planned to do a Thanksgiving video. Like CJ wanted to probably do one for every teacher he ever had. And it was like, oh, wait, when was that supposed to happen? Oh, shoot, I forgot. Or those sorts of things, which I think just speaks to where people are sort of bandwidth wise and just.
Well, and I think the other thing about that is like no control. Like I didn't have any control of the messaging. So I was like, okay, Ms. McKenzie, you send it out. She sent it out. There wasn't a link. I'm sorry. I don't want to I think it could have been better executed. Emily, I crafted that message in early November, and I was like, well, we can't send it out with the election, but it was prepped, it was ready to go. And some of my frustration about this, and I know you guys share this, right? Is we don't, oh God, I can't talk. We don't have the opportunity to message through Dojo, right? We have it through Facebook, but I very much, you guys already know how strongly I feel about this. I just feel completely hamstrung by not being able to communicate.
Yeah.
If I could just ask, this is Asia, the vice president, and I've kind of been the person kind of trying to wrangle Constella. And Nari, I just want to speak to the frustrations that you've had, and I know you've shared a lot of things so far throughout the year. Julian. Not doing that again. But with this particular project, with the thank you videos, knowing that there are these barriers that we're not able to really get through, and then also the engagement, and then also the app fatigue, and also that the holidays and birthday week and family members getting sick, like everyone in every aspect, whether it's the people who really are desiring this connection and can't have it because of all these things, versus the people who, like Monique and myself, who like, I really want to do a video for my teachers, but we can't because I forgot. And we had our Philly reading tutor coaches thing last week and I forgot. And everyone, I think two things are happening at the same time. And one is that there's this really strong desire to be together. And on the flip side of that is that everyone is already so overtaxed that I can't even figure out how to do that. And I think just this time of year, any year is kind of challenging. And thinking about all the goals that we have for this year after we got things underway last year, which I think went really well. It's just 2024 at this point.
I am wondering if we should revisit trying to get our own account on Dojo, or if that's not the way to do it.
I'll ask, because I have a teacher account and they should just let me in. I'll
I
see.
mean, I think that would solve a lot of our issues. I mean,
a lot of them.
Yeah, I just like, then we're not texting Miss Mackenzie and waiting for her when she's overburdened too. You know, it's like on every letter, we're just like adding stuff instead of just doing it. And I think, I just think that would be the easiest way to do it.
I mean, even to speak to why the Dojo connection would be much more helpful. Literally today, we had, I think, 2 parents who had signed up. You know why? Because if I got a meeting reminder 2 weeks ago, I forgot about it, and this is our meeting. And then the Dojo message went out today. We had like 8 or 9 other parents who signed up for the meeting, because right now, most people are in a space where they can work with what's in front of them. They can't, like, it's very hard to sort of manage some things that are very far out. I think having that access would be great. I don't mind to, in our next meeting with Principal Hall, to ask again to find out a way. I will see what I can do. Yeah, so I think, the multiple survey reminders. I think, for example, for myself, what gets looked at for me on Dojo are actual messages from my son's teacher, not the ones that go on the timeline. If it goes on the timeline, it can get lost. Like I said, the calendar is probably 4 to 5 messages down in the timeline on Dojo, but the messages from my son's teacher, I look at those. Those come.
You know what else might be a good thing to discuss, and we can make notes, but I'm just thinking this through. I think we do have some of the teachers' email addresses from the end of last year when we did send like teacher appreciation gifts. So maybe we ask the teachers to email out messages about Constella. Again,
I
it's
think
on
so
the
too.
teachers, but I do think that it coming directly from them is our best bet.
In terms of connecting, because we're talking about different things. When we're talking about HSA wanting the ability to connect.
Miss McGuffin, hold on, babe. But I'm not always the best at just reading the general thread.
Yes. So I think those are 2 things. I think we'll add those. I'm sure Jamie is taking copious minutes because she's great at that. I think, so add to the list. I will attempt to get us connected on Dojo, create it some kind of way. I don't know how we'll do that yet, but I'm gonna see what I can like finagle. I think asking the teacher personally, the other thing I will say is, just as somebody who works in education, I get 52 million emails these days. If I get a message from a parent that says, hey, can you send this out? I'm more likely to do that than from an email that came from HSA. So asking, like, so I would ask that if you, for those who are in different classes, ask your child's teacher to send out something on Constella and Facebook. We will send out an email. Jamie, I'm sure I'm about to volunteer Jamie for something, but we can send out a message, like a scripted message for you to just drop into Dojo to send to teachers and say, hey, can you send this message out to every family on Dojo? So I'm sure we have something created sort of like that already. We'll shoot that out to everybody's email who's signed up for the meeting. We can do that. And just say, hey, can you ask your child's teacher to send this as a message, not as a blast? Because a blast goes places, other places, down in the news feed on Class Dojo. But if they send it as a message at the right time of day, it's more likely to kind of get read and looked at. So we'll do that. And then I agree, like to really like ramp up and get to thinking about what we would do in 2021. It's just is so challenging because like we were just kind of getting started and it's like, oh, no more school in March. And it's like, oh, yeah. So I think that all of us are feeling sort of this pressure of like what could have been that is not right now. But I want to encourage us all to sort of look at it from a positive lens and understand and think about like, as Asia said, I think this is true for everybody. Everybody has 50 million priorities, and the priorities that we have are not necessarily the priorities other people have. And to Nareed's point, it's not about the desire to engage. It's not necessarily about what parents would want or would not want. It's really about like, if I've got 50 points of bandwidth, I've only got 44 left. This is, or only, and I've used 44, I've got 6 left, and this just isn't the thing that can get my attention right now. I'm worried about a schedule change. It's a child who has, like, my child does not do change well. Schedule change has already like thrown me for 10 loops today. I just don't have it to kind of engage with. So just keeping all of those things in mind and making sure that we're coming from a space of grace and understanding for everybody and all different value systems and situations, I think is really important.
I think we can talk about the paper list too for 2021. I know. Sorry. I know a couple schools that still do that. That's what I did. I loved that thing, but I mean, it was a different time. But you know,
Yeah.
it might not be a bad idea to try to see if that's something we can do or something that people would opt into. And we could have like, can we sign you up for Constella? Maybe we could get the information, then we do it. I don't mind throwing, data into that. So just some thoughts for next year for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm not sure what else was on the, do you have anything else on the slide deck, Jamie? Because I don't know.
No, the only other thing was listening session, which we have just essentially
That's
done.
what we were kind of doing. Any other things aside from parent engagement, which is like usually the thing?
Oh, I did have one more thing. So
Go ahead.
in the last meeting, we had talked about the book barn. The book barn took some time because we bought the book barn and then putting it together was a longer journey than we anticipated. And we can thank Jamie Longo's family for helping with that because they like MacGyvered it to make it work. So I think I want to go over there and just take a look at it and see if we need to buy some plastic bins to put inside it maybe and figure out how to organize that. But then we can maybe start taking some donations for books. And I think we could, okay, Sam, go.
I'm getting my truck.
Okay. We could probably, like reach out to the community for that too. Cause I think a lot of the people in this group are going to have younger kids. So I have plenty of books for, pre-K through second maybe, but we're going to need some help getting stuff for the middle schoolers.
Yeah, it's and we have the book bank at King High School, which is probably by appointment only. I don't even know if they're still running it right now, but that's another like resource to get free books for older upper grades and things like that. And if teachers are like me and cleaning out their basements and cleaning out all the books that they have collected, I realized I had 4 libraries full of student books for every grade level I ever taught. And those had to go out of my basement. But if those things are happening, folks are really ready to.
What kind
I
of
think that'll be awesome.
do you want to get donations? Just like
I
readers?
think really anything. They could be leveled readers, but they don't have to be. Because I think the goal is for this to be sort of like a read for fun sort of thing. Not so much like, teachers have leveled readers and they work with those things and other, scenarios. I think this is really about, if I've got, third grader at home and I want to get some books for my third grader, or as a teacher, I want to suggest that, your child reads more or whatever, go to the book barn and grab some books on the way. I mean, probably won't see as much traction with people even visiting it right now because it's about to get cold and it's raining or whatever. But by the time spring comes and the weather starts to warm up and people are using the outdoor classrooms and things more frequently, I think we'll see a lot more use of it. So yeah, anything that's like read for fun.
Is it going to have?
I kind of
supplies
imagined
too?
it like a larger little library that covers all the age groups at our school, right? So that everyone's covered. And if anyone from our school needs a book, they can go to that container and pick something.
And is it going to have supplies too, or books?
We had talked about that, and I think we just need to see about space. We kind of bought one, well, mostly because it was all I could fit in my car when I bought them. And then we were like, let's put it together and see how it works. And so I think we'll see how much we can fit in the one and kind of go from there as to if we can do more.
And fit supplies in there, or if we just need to, if we just have enough room for books for this one and need to get another one, we just got to look at space-wise what that will allow for us to do and keep safe from the elements and things like that. Anything else that's coming up for folks or thinking about, either on the vein of fundraising or on the vein of engagement, or on the vein of this is something we're not doing, I really, really want to do it?
I had a question. I don't know if this was talked about already or on your minds. Like, is there an opportunity to do something for like holidays to say thank you to the teachers?
I think I really like the, I don't know, what were you thinking about? I like the idea of the video, but were you having other thoughts? Like, the idea was phenomenal. My brain is.
Yeah, no, and I think maybe we table it because we need more ramp up time. Like maybe we do it for end of year. I think maybe we'd have enough time to like get it together.
Or Teacher Appreciation Week.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
Plan
that's
for,
that's in May
like,
too,
do
right?
it really ahead of time.
that. Isn't that May, Teacher Appreciation Week?
I think so, but we should get that like on the calendar so we start thinking, make myself a reminder.
Yes, somebody, yeah, thanks, Jamie. I'm sure Jamie has that written down. Any other thoughts around like what we could do to celebrate teachers for, the holiday season, or even just the fact that they're doing a lot and now we're at 80% FaceTime instruction? Because just like our Friday half days got cut, I'm still very bothered by that, to be 100% honest with you. So did theirs. And so it's like now they're having to teach on Friday afternoons. I have to manage children.
What if we made it, this is gonna take work on our end, but made like instead of a video, just like a spreadsheet where you go in and you click the teacher's name and you just have your kid write a couple words about what they love about their teacher, or you can write.
That's really not hard to do.
You know what I
You
mean?
just
But like
did
a Google sheet where it's like you go down, you click like Miss McGuffin, and then you can just write a message. So that
There's
would,
actually an app, there's
You could do that
apps
as a
and
Google
websites for
form.
that. But you don't
Okay.
even have to have a Google form, although we could, right? There's they call them, like, they're not e-cards, but there's something like that. Because we just did one to honor, we had a teacher pass away in one of the buildings I support. And they did like this, just a thing where you can just click, made a tiny URL, you click it and you can go write whatever you want to write about that teacher. And so I think that's something that could go out. I believe Miss McKenzie can send things, and this is the it just dawned on me. Miss McKenzie can send messages to each parent as opposed to sending something as a blast on Dojo. She can send something that actually comes out as a message on Dojo. We could request that she do it that way because it's more likely that it does not get lost. Because I don't know if you guys are, like, I've just pulled up my class Dojo. I can see Mr. Reason and Miss Renford and Miss Buckanevich, and I can also see a message from Miss McKenzie because I sent her a message. So it can go out as a message to families as opposed to going into the blast and sort of getting lost. But I think that that would be great to create something where families can send well wishes, because I think that really, I'll tell you, when I was teaching, that warmed my heart just to hear families say, you know what, you were really important to me, or you really helped my child, or that sort of thing. I think those things would be phenomenal. And I think maybe not just for teachers, but to put like Mr. Hall on there, to put Mr. Gross on there, Mr. Day on there, those other people that they, typically would see, and I think they're missing. So I think that's a great thought. I love that idea. And maybe we can find a way to do it in a way, and while we're like right now, while we're trying to manage getting on Dojo, I'm going to ask again, I promise. I'm going to ask 50 million different ways to figure out how to get on Dojo. But while we're doing that, I think creating a format in that way to connect or to communicate would be awesome.
I think that's an awesome idea. And the other thing that was just in my mind, and I have to be honest, I haven't read Miss B's message yet around the winter concert. And I'm not saying that the thank you should be in that forum, but it seems like that might be a unique opportunity for us all to be, at least have more parents engaged. I think it's going to be a concert, right?
It's supposed to be like a winter concert, yes.
Right. So I bring that up just like that seems like an opportunity for us. I don't know if it's an opportunity for the HSA, maybe to just say, maybe on behalf of the HSA, we say thank you, and also kind of do that as a plug for Constella. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that's the exact idea, but I'm like, oh, that is just screaming as an opportunity for us when we're all when we're more of a community than I think we have been all year.
Yeah, I think add that too. In addition, maybe having that same conversation on movie night on December 18th, like, you know, bringing it up at that point too, those times when we are also, don't know, I've never, so CJ is typically at his dad's on Friday, so I'm never here for Dojo celebrations. This will be the first one that I actually get to go to. I'm not really sure even what they are like. I don't know anything about them, but don't know if that's an opportunity to sort of like communicate that then also, maybe not on the Dojo celebrations that's this Friday, but that may be another time when other parents are sort of like, excuse me, around to sort of connect. But I honestly don't know how that all goes. Any other thoughts or things that are coming up, thinking about what we could do or all right, it's 6:03. We appreciate you all and your engagement, and we appreciate just your time and giving us your time to sort of connect and talk through what's going on. The December calendar is out. The parent survey, please fill out the parent survey. And oh yeah, Dojo celebration is this Friday. Those are the things that I'm thinking of, the last like couple things. And we will see you all sort of maybe virtually. Maybe we won't. We will talk to you all virtually very soon. Every time I think about that, I'm like, yeah. But thank you all so much. And thanks guys for being here and for engaging and participating. Much appreciated.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks. Good night.